Funziona? Sì. Buonasera a tutti, scusate per il ritardo, però Joan stava finendo delle revisioni con i ragazzi con i quali sta facendo il workshop. Io faccio un po' gli onori di casa, nel senso che dico due cose su Joan, anche se più o meno tutti lo conoscete. Prima, pensando dentro, vedendolo lavorare, essendo anche colleghi a Barcellona viaggiando sulle stesse piattaforme, diciamo, del settore, mi sono sentito un po' come i calciatori di Serie C quando vedono giocare Messi. Mi sento un attimo in difficoltà, però va bene, recuperiamo. L'exor di Joan sarà in inglese e la presentazione ve la faccio in italiano. Ormai 4 decenni di dedicazione prolifica alla fotografia, ha un lavoro che si sviluppa sia sul settore artistico ma anche su quello teorico, e si concentra sui conflitti tra natura, tecnologia, fotografia e verità. Joan ha tenuto mostre in differenti istituzioni, tra le più conosciute il MoMA di New York, Chicago Art Institute, l'IVAM di Valencia, London Science Museum, e i suoi lavori sono in altrettante collezioni come appunto il Metropolitan, Museum of Modern Art di New York, San Francisco, National Gallery Ottawa, Pompidou di Parigi, MACBA di Barcellona. Nel 2011 ha ricevuto il Premio Nacional de Ensayo in Spagna, che è il premio che si rilascia al miglior saggio dell'anno, con il testo che poi è stato tradotto in italiano, che in spagnolo è La Camera di Pandora, qui è stato tradotto con La Fotocamera di Pandora. È stato editore della rivista Photovision, che è la prima rivista in Spagna che ha rivendicato l'importanza della teoria nel settore della fotografia, e tanti altri. È stato Premio Nazionale di Fotografia per il Ministero di Cultura spagnola nel 98, Premio Assembla nel 2013. E nel suo lavoro artistico, queste sono 2 note che mi sono fatto per voi, nel suo lavoro artistico Foncuberta lavora a progetti concettualmente molto articolati, ai quali però affianca la sua parte più accademica. Come sappiamo è un teorico dell'immagine, ma la cosa interessante è che allo stesso tempo è un manipolatore della stessa immagine. Ha riflettuto molto appunto sull'immagine fotografica che lui stesso produce nei suoi lavori concettuali. Lui stesso non si considera un teorico, se no un creatore di immagini, un fotografo, un artista visivo, che però sente la necessità di cercare di spiegarsi perché il mondo in questo momento è come è e qual è il ruolo che sta acquisendo l'immagine stessa nella configurazione di questo mondo nella quale siamo produttori di queste immagini. E una cosa che mi preme segnalare, che forse non tutti sanno, è che JOAN FONTCUBERTA non viene da studi in accademie di belle arti, sino che viene dal settore della comunicazione, e questo essendo una scuola di comunicazione visiva altrettanto importante. E la mia timida analisi in realtà del lavoro di FONTCUBERTA viene riprendendo un concetto di Clifford Geertz, quindi trasportandolo dall'antropologia. Mi è venuto a pensare quando Clifford Geertz definiva la cultura come una rete di significati che l'uomo stesso ha tessuto e nella quale si trova intrappolato. FONTCUBERTA con il suo lavoro, con questo prolifico lavoro direi, ci segnala un po' a riconoscere quali sono queste maglie della cultura, ce le illumina in qualche modo, ma soprattutto ci insegna i meccanismi, no? ci mostra quali sono questi meccanismi che ci intrappolano all'interno di questa produzione di immagini. E niente, lascio la parola a FONTCUBERTA che ci parlerà appunto della postfotografia. Buon ascolto, un'oretta e poi, tempo permettendo, qualche domanda. Grazie.
Buonasera, mi dispiace, io non parlo italiano ma capito, allora io vado a parlare inglese. Thank you, Luca, Matteo, for inviting me here. It's a pleasure to have a chance to shoot some ideas. Actually, I'll do a very visual presentation. I will present images and clips, video clips, and I will just comment what we are going to watch onto the screen. My main concern is to identify a new situation in visual culture, which tentatively I propose to call post-photographic. It's not a very happy name, I'm aware, but it's just transitory. We should look for a better one. In any case, I want to express the idea that we are using images in another way. Images are not having the same function that they had in former times. And this is because different reasons. I will deal with some of the reasons, not all them, but some of the aspects which, in my opinion, are changing our visual landscape. The title of my presentation is this idea of terza pillola, the third pill. And this is originally a metaphor which was introduced in Lewis Carroll, Alice in Wonderland. Lewis Carroll, or Alice through the Looking Glass. Alice is running after the rabbit and gets on the rabbit hole. And then inside that Wonderland country, she's offered to choose between the red pill and the blue pill. This is between illusion and reality. This is taken by Matrix, and we have this situation. Sì, sorry. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends, you wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, I'm offering the truth, nothing more. Well, this is Zizek. Sorry for this technical problem. He's telling that, well, this is an excerpt, a fragment from The Pervert's Guide to Cinema by Zizek. Is a movie in which he selects some fragments from well-known films and takes some philosophical reflections out of them. In this case, Zizek is telling that the choice between the red pill and the blue pill, between reality and illusion, is not a real choice. That actually fiction is not the contrary of reality, but fiction is the way we require to structure our concept, our model of reality. If we lose fiction, we lose reality itself. And then he says, I want a third pill. I want a pill which will enhance a new negotiation between reality and fiction. Well, this is what is happening here. Sorry for the... no. Sí. But it's over there, or it's... Yeah? Well, it doesn't matter. In any case, the idea is that... okay. Do you want to try?
The audio, it's important.
Yes, but I don't know if it's...
I can try.
Okay, go ahead. maybe the more.
This is
Yes.
the problem. Okay. Try.
This is your last. After this, you take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe. Take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland.
Okay, let's start from the beginning. Let's go. Good. Thank you.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
But the choice between the blue and the red pill is not really a choice between illusion and reality. Of course, Matrix is a machine for fictions, but these are fictions which already structure our reality. If you take away from our reality the symbolic fictions that regulate it, you lose reality itself. I want a third pill. So what is the third pill? Definitely not some kind of transcendental pill which enables a fake fast food religious experience, but a pill that would enable me to perceive not the reality behind the illusion, but the reality in illusion itself.
So, reality in illusion itself. I think that this is another way to present the current conflict between the real and its representation. Now we are in a moment in which we could identify the result of a new Big Bang, but not the physical Big Bang, it's the image Big Bang. We are in the stage in which images are excessive, they are massified, they conform an ocean in which we are going to get drawn. And this is because of several reasons. The first is the fact that we produce more and more unnecessary pictures. In former times, let's say in prehistoric times, there were the priests or the magicians painting those buffaloes, these bisons, or the deer, horses on the cave walls in order to attract their soul to be hunted by the tribe warriors. They were just a minority. Then artists appear. Artists were individuals with some talent, with a sensibility, with skills to depict nature. They were more than the priest, but it was still a minority. Then in 1839, photography appeared. And when I talk about photography, I mean all the techniques to produce images. So skills, sensibility, and this kind of ability to make drawings was no longer necessary. You just handle some photographic equipment to produce images. The group of image makers was growing. Photographers were more numerous than artists, who were more numerous than priests. But photography was still sometimes difficult. You should handle a complicated camera. You should deal in the darkroom. So you required some operation which were not accessible to everybody. So in 1889, George Eastman created Kodak and sent a slogan: you press the button, we'll do the rest. So at that moment, everybody could take photographs. Everybody could become an image maker. But there was still a handicap. Every time that you press the button and Kodak do the rest, you must also pay Kodak or whoever for the production of the image. This means that this cost is a break, it's a handicap, which prevents you of taking many, many pictures. So you will concentrate, you will reserve your investment in those moments which are important for you. So the photographic action is a solemn one. You will concentrate this gesture and this investment in your important moments, your celebrations, your family celebrations, the wedding, the holidays, and so on. Or in terms of photojournalism, you will invest this energy in those historical moments, a war, a politician's meeting, whatever. So, at this moment, photography is an act which is reserved to solemn moments. And the presence of the camera is making the event important, is making the event going into history. But we arrived to the present times, and to me, contemporary times are defined by the emergence of a new human category, which is Homo photographicus. After Homo sapiens, we have Homo photographicus. Homo photographicus is a kind of category characterized by the fact that we take pictures all the time, no stopping, because it's having no cost. Now, taking photographs is costless. This means that we don't need to preserve this investment in important solemn moments. We can take pictures of all the banal, ordinary moments. And because of that, we take pictures once and once again. And because of that, we produce a large quantity of images. Sometimes they are not interesting, sometimes they are just repetitive. They produce a kind of visual pollution. And I think that this is the starting point we should consider our current culture, visual culture. We are surrounded by too many images. And because of this quantity, our relationship with images is different. In former times, we were going to churches, cathedrals, palaces, and later museums to observe images. Now, images come to our place. We turn up the water at home, and images, this is internet, is coming like an incredible amount. They are immediately accessible, and they are in a great access. So this is changing completely the value of images. They are not seldom, they are so abundant that they are not having any value for us. Well, this is the famous blue marble picture, and I would like to present it today because we are commemorating the 50 years of mankind getting on the moon, and there are a lot of events and exhibitions and publications about that historical fact. The blue marble was taken on December 7, 1972 by Apollo 17. It's the first time that the full Earth is captured in a picture. Before, of course, other images were taken, but not in this specific position in which the sun, the camera, and the Earth are in the same line. Okay? In order to get this image, the Apollo 17 orbit was slightly changed. So there was a big effort by the NASA to achieve this goal. For the first time, this picture. And I'm also presenting it because an Italian photographer, Luigi Ghirri, in the late 70s said, this is the Aleph of photography. You know, Aleph is a concept conceived by Jorge Luis Borges, the Argentinian writer, And Aleph means that spot which concentrates completely the universe. Somehow it will be the metaphoric correspondence to a black hole, something in which everything can be found. So for Giri, this is the picture which is the mother of all the pictures. All the human productions, including images, are here, because this is the earth, this is our home, and everything that has a human production is included, is somehow contained by this image. So this photograph is having, for different reasons, this metaphoric importance. We feel that everything has been photographed, that there are too many images, and that's a possibility. It's a way to consider the situation. But then the challenge for artists is to find those missing images. There's chance to find new territories which haven't been explored. Science is providing some examples. Recently, a few weeks ago, we achieved the first image of a black hole. The concept, which was proved by Einstein with mathematical and physical equations, can now be seen through a screen. This picture was was created by Dr. Cathy Bowman, a young scientist at MIT in Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And after a long research joining the efforts of different international astronomical labs, they arrived to the possibility to give a visual shape to the concept of a black hole. A linguist of Hawaiian language called Larry Kimura proposed to call it a poevi. Poevi in English should be translated like embellished dark source of unending creation. Unending creation. The black hole is an ending creation, and I would like that this idea of unending creation, creation without an end, will join us as an artist, as we are image makers, in order to provide imagination and hope for new unexplored territories. But today, in political terms, the image is substituting reality. Images are so abundant that they are not only representing the real world, somehow they substitute the real world. And because of that, they establish with us a political relationship. We should learn how to live within images, or even we should learn how to survive in this image world. So, acting on the image implies a gesture of ideological signification that goes beyond the realm of art to engage new forms of cultural and political activism. Let me give you an example. In former political demonstrations, demonstrators throw stones to the police. Now, stones are meaningless. They are not valid weapons. Now, demonstrations shoot photographs. Taking photographs is much stronger than throwing stones. This means that in contemporary intifadas, the effect, the consequences of images is much more effective than the consequences of just physical violence. This is, by the way, a fragment of a video by Sean Snyder, who is an American artist who is following his master, Arun Farocki, in a piece in which he's taking excerpts of amateur video shots doing in the Iran protest in 2010. This can be followed in many other situations. Recently in Catalonia, in Barcelona, there was a referendum for independence, and again, taking pictures of the violence, of the repression of the police towards peaceful demonstration was much stronger than any act of violence, any act of physical defense. Well, we live in a world made of images. That's the difference. This is maybe a great example proposed by Dutch photographer, that's the name, now I don't remember the name. Well, it will come to me. In Eric Kessel. In 2014, he presented an installation at Foam Museum in Amsterdam, which was titled 24 Hours of Photographs. The idea was that he went to Flickr, which is picture sharing web page, and downloaded all the photographs which has been uploaded during 24 hours, during one day. About more or less 1.5 million. He printed postcard size all those files and just threw them in a random way in the museum galleries. So visitors were confronted to this kind of landscape. And the situation was again very illustrative of what's going on in the real world. Let's make some calculation. If we look at every specific picture just during 1 second, a single observer, not sleeping at all during the day, investing 24 hours a day, would require 7 days to watch all the pictures contained in this exhibition. And this is just Flickr, which is a more or less minoritarian web page. Let's consider, and I take figures from last year, they are not updated, but Snapchat, there are about 800 million images uploaded every day. Facebook, 350 million pictures uploaded every day. Instagram, 80 million photographs uploaded every day. If we just consider Snapchat, Facebook, and Instagram, and doing the same equation, we would require about 49 years to look at all the pictures just uploaded in 24 hours. And this brings us to a funny paradox. We spend that much time making photographs that then we have no time to look at them. This is, we create invisible images. We generate such a large number of images that nobody is going to watch. Nobody will notice about them. Again, we are producing visual pollution. We are contaminating our world with too many images. Again, getting back to Argentinian writer Jorge Luis Borges, you will probably remember that story in which he tells that in an old empire, the cartographers achieved an excellent level that they were able to produce a map which was matching completely the surface of the territory of the empire. Of course, this is a joke. Such a map is not useful at all. We need a map which concentrates the special features of the territory and in an abstracted way will help us to find our way. But such a map is just is not useful at all. It's just crazy. But even being crazy, if Borges would resuscitate today, would get completely amazed at the fact that we now are able not to produce a map matching exactly the territory of our empire, but expanding, going beyond the boundaries of this territory. So images are getting us in a hyper-real world. It's not just representation in a realistic way. They are creating an hyper-reality which is expanding this scope. Let's get some illustrations, for instance. These two pictures in 2005 and 2013 are taken in the same place, which is St. Peter's Square in Rome during the election of the Pope. 2005 for Benedictus XVI, 2013 for Francis I, Francesco. So, what's the difference? Well, in just 8 years, in the 2013 image, everybody is taking a photograph. Everybody is using the cell phone or the tablet to take a photograph. In the first one, they are just waiting for the fumata blanca, but in the other one, they are just taking the photograph. This gesture is now loaded with new senses. Probably the picture is unuseful. This picture is depicting nothing, but the fact of they are using the camera is a way to celebrate the moment, is a way to display their own enthusiasm about what's going on. Let's keep on the Pope. The Pope, Wojtyla, 2007 in Sao Paulo. Okay? This is a random shot by a photojournalist, as I found it in a local newspaper. Okay? It's a frame. This means that the photographer framed this specific group of people with the Pope in the center. But let's be carefully counting. What's happening here? That we could realize that 170 individuals are captured on the framing. And if we keep on counting, 46 are holding a camera and taking a picture. It doesn't mean that the rest are not taking a picture. Maybe they already took it, or maybe they will take it later. But in this random, accidental moment, 46 people are taking a photograph. Why are they taking a photograph? The Vatican propaganda services distributed beautiful portraits, official portraits of the Pope in postcard size, in posters. So what are they trying to get? A portrait of the Pope. From the distance they are, from the perspective, from the lighting, from the technical camera they are using, the result won't be satisfactory at all. So they are taking the picture for one reason. They want to prove they were there. I was here when the Pope was crossing in front of me. So that's an interesting point in post-photography times. Documents, this is witnessing the presence of the Pope, is substituted by a biographical mark, by the fact that I'm doing the picture to set myself in one moment of time and one place, one spot of geography. I was here in that historical moment. But the photograph is not intending to describe the event any longer. We consume the world through the camera, through the screen. This is a video, a friend of ours, Jorge Luis Marzo, shot in the Louvre, in the museum in France. All these people are watching at the Mona Lisa. Again, we could say that it's much better to buy a postcard or a reproduction or a book from that distance, from the reflection on the glass, whatever. The result they will achieve won't be interesting at all. But it's a way to prove they were there. They visited the Louvre. They were in front of the Mona Lisa, of the Gioconda. But now, let's watch that Chinese tourist. I will show you when she's appearing in just a second. Now, look at her. She's walking the museum, not looking at the paintings, looking at her phone screen and changing perspective, changing framing. She's doing an avant-garde videotape. I would like to have a copy because it's really a kind of collage, a kind of mosaic, incredibly dynamic and energetic. Okay, what's the experience of this tourist? Probably she's doing that kind of recording because she's in a hurry, she's not having time to spend attention to every different painting, and then maybe she's reviewing the videotape in the hotel. But will she have time to do that if she's doing the same in all the visits that supposedly she's doing in Paris? Of course not. Again, she's producing invisible images. We produce images, we do recordings, but they will sleep forever in our memory cards. But as I said before, this is also a proof that we now consume reality through the camera. We don't want to enjoy the sunset, we want to photograph it. We want to watch the sunset through the screen of our camera. And when we have a baby, this is what's happening. This is, by the way, a series by a French photographer called Catherine Ballet, and the title is Strangers in the Light. Not strangers in the night, but strangers in the light. I mean, we are obsessed by taking pictures. And there are some resistance attitudes. There are artists who understand the situation and try to provide resistance strategies. For instance, Corinne Bionnet is a Swiss photographer who has realized that in these times of massified tourism, all tourists take the same shots. For instance, if we deal with those landmarks like the Big Ben in London, the Tour Eiffel in France, the Taj Mahal, Machu Picchu, and so on, I mean, all the tourists have the similar, very similar images. So she's downloading hundreds of photographs of these places and producing a kind of superimpression. And in the result, you realize that actually all the photographs look the same. Only on the corners there's some difference because maybe of the position of the photographer, maybe the perspective, etc. But finally, everybody is taking pictures of the same. So we are repeating once and once again the same image. It can be the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin, the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. So this idea of that we all do the same picture is a critical aspect of this massified production of images. But there are other activism which are working in the same direction, maybe in a funnier way, more amusing. For instance, the German photographer Philipp Schmidt, who is designing the camera restricta. Camera restricta is a device, is a camera which can be connected to the internet and can evaluate how many pictures uploaded in the internet are available, taken from a specific geographical point. This means that if I'm here, the camera would calculate how many pictures have been taken from this specific point. And if there are too many, the camera is blocked. The camera forbids me to take a new picture which has been already done. And I can select if my level is 10 pictures done from this point, or 20 pictures, or 50 pictures, or 500 pictures. I mean, if from the geolocalization coda, the elements, information of the images are not getting that point, the camera is just blocked. It's somehow the guarantee of not contributing to this pollution. Okay? There are more examples like that. Another, which is quite funny, another activist, Buddy Bolton. Buddy Bolton is attacking the tourists taking the same photographs, doing the same selfies. Look at this. This is really a kind of warrior, kind of terrorist. Huh? Well, now let me show you an advertising film, 60 seconds, about Samsung cameras, Samsung digital cameras. In 60 seconds, we have the whole history of photography.
여보세요? 알았어, 금방 갈게.
Well, sorry. I don't read Korean, but someone translated this for me, and it reads, there's always something interesting to be photographed. Well, with all what's happening in the European Mediterranean beaches with immigrants and refugees, this is not very good taste. Huh? But this was done time ago. In any case, we have three different steps. First, the girl approaching the beach and finding the corpse, and having the will to photograph, to witness, to document. This would correspond to 19th century. It's the documentary impulse. Huh? Then you realize that she's taking some dirt and adding to the corpse. Somehow she's getting a more static composition. She's improving reality. She's interventing in reality itself. So we have somehow the artistic impulse, and we have photography in 20th century. And then we have the selfie, the fact that she's turning around and the subject is becoming the object. We are inverting this position, and that's very important. And again, we could say that in this post-photographic, in the third step, we have the proof that we are not interested in getting a document. That document is substituted by the biographical mark. I mean, the photographer, her own portrait, her own presence, her own being there is more important than the reality itself. So we are in a selfish moment, not selfie, but selfish moment. And this selfish moment will be one of the important parameters of the contemporary times. We have the fact that we are homo photographicus, but at the other hand, we have another aspect, which is that we are in the ecstasies of a process that we can call it the automated image. So images are not necessarily done by human beings, they are, but also they can be produced by machines, by virtual intelligences, by automated devices. The first time that, a photograph was taken by an automatic device probably was in 1878 when Muybridge was trying to prove that the horse was having the four legs on the air when running. Okay? Because of taking these pictures, he planned a system of different cameras placed in a sequential way with very thin threads which were producing the click of the cameras when the horse was breaking those threads. And somehow, in such a way, we have something interesting to reflect at, to think about. If the horse was producing the image when breaking the thread which released the camera shutter, who is the author of the photograph? The horse or Muybridge? I leave open this question. Let's go on with animals. In 1912, a German doctor called Julius Neubronner, who was an amateur of photography and how you call that in English, pigeons, I mean having pigeons, messenger pigeons, had an idea to place a small camera that he designed on the neck of the pigeon, send the pigeon over and plan that the camera was taking photographs every 30 seconds. From time to time, the camera would photograph the ground, and in such a way, Neubronner invented aerial photography. And for a short period of time, he was using that method to produce postcards of familiar landscapes, architectural, urban, or natural. In 1914, the First World War started, and the German army took the invention to produce flying spies. I mean, the pigeons were sent towards the enemy lines in order to document the position of the trenches or the artillery or the armies, the movement of the armies. Somehow, Neubronner invented the drone. Now, we are not using animals to have cameras. We are using technological devices which have at one side cameras, at the other weapons. But the origin is this idea of automatization, the automatization of the photographic take. Recently, probably you read that in newspapers, a beluga whale was found in the northern Norwegian beach, and the whale was holding a GoPro camera, and apparently it was trained by the Russians as, again, a spy animal. Whales and dolphins are very easy to be trained to take photographs, and they are used to spy the enemy, but also could be used to produce war actions like detecting mines or other threats in subaquatic situations. When all this controversy emerged in the press, the US military sources said, well, we have done this first. During the Iraq war, we have been using dolphins to document the positions of the enemies. And this is introducing a very interesting chapter, which is photographs done by animals. The first one to do that consciously was a German photographer called Markus Fabel. Fabel had an idea. He was working for the Berliner Illustrator Zeitung in 1935. He thought that he could provide cameras, Leicas, to the chimpanzees in the Berlin Zoo and request the trainers to teach the chimpanzees to press the button of the camera and take photographs of the children who were there as zoo visitors. Well, finally, after several attempts, they were quite successful and some satisfactory photographs were taken. The magazine, the Berliner Illustrator Zeitung, published the pictures. But the interesting point was that Pavel tried to get paid for those pictures. But the editor said, no, you haven't taken them. The monkeys should receive the money. Ask the monkeys to send us an invoice. So, beside the joke, the thing was, what is authorship? Who is the author of a photograph? Or we could extend the question, who is the author of an artwork? Is that in the making, in the production, or in the concept, in getting meaning? 2 years later, Pavel sent the same idea to Life magazine in the States. It was printed again, and in this case, he got paid for that. So, mankind was evolving, was progressing, and finally they understood that the creativity doesn't reside in the production, but in the way of conceiving the device, in the process in which the images are produced and have a specific function. Let's keep on with monkeys. I'm very interested in photographs taken by monkeys. This is David Slater. He is a wild nature photographer, and he specialized in monkeys, in macacos, black macacos. He was taking photographs in a group of monkeys in southern Indonesian island when suddenly a female adult approached his camera, played with it because she was attracted by the reflection on the lens, and finally pressed the button and got the first selfie done by a monkey. Okay, fine. The picture was published in a lot of newspapers and magazines. Nothing happened. But then Wikipedia used the picture to illustrate the entry for black macaco. And David Slater was not happy. He said, I've done the work. I should get the copyright and the money for it. And Wikipedia said, no. Again, the picture has been done by a monkey. So it's public domain. Everybody can use it. So there was a process, a legal process. Slater was suing Wikipedia. And finally, the judges in the States delivered a wonderful sentence in which they state that copyright is a right reserved to human beings. God, phantoms, nature, animals, and plants cannot aspire to hold copyright. And because of that, Wikipedia was having right to keep this picture on the page. The picture is still used in Wikipedia. But this is, of course, arising very interesting topics about authorship and other elements considering the creation of images. If this situation would have happened maybe 100 years ago, the selfie wouldn't exist today. What happened here? First, it was, of course, an accidental gesture of the monkey. But mainly, the monkey was touching not a typical camera, was touching a modern camera, which was an automated way in which there was autofocus, auto exposure, the shot in a sequence also automatic, the metadata, the compressed file, everything. I mean that the picture was having a realistic quality because the camera was programmed to do so, just pressing the button. With a manual camera, this picture wouldn't exist. So somehow the author here is later in the sense that provided visibility to this image. But in the fabrication of the image, we could consider all the artificial intelligence. This is the automatic devices which implemented the production of this picture. In any case, in order to establish a philosophical sequence to decide if monkeys are authors or not, we should remember that in order to have, creativity, we need will. In order to have will, we need conscience. And in order to have conscience, we need human condition. So somehow discussing authorship is a way to discuss what's left in our human condition. Well, nowadays, the idea of using animals to do documentary is very expanded. The BBC in the United Kingdom is doing a series which consists precisely of having a GoPro camera in guepards, cheetahs, monkeys, whatever, leave them for a period of time and later get back to the recorded material and do a documentary. But even wild nature photographers more and more interact with animals and provide in their web pages examples of these funny situations in which, of course, the animals are not taking photographs, but at least they play with this strange machine which is the camera. And somehow they bring back this idea of what's an author and which degree of conscience and will can we concede to an animal. But let's forget animals. We started with pigeons and then we jumped to to drones. Now let's forget about animals and let's jump to other kind of animals having cameras. For instance, Google Street View. Google Street View was created in 2007 and today is an interface that probably everybody uses to get familiar, to find an address and to check how it's looking like, or, I mean, it's very functional. And normally it's produced by this kind of cars with this device with 9 cameras shooting in different directions, and then with the computer creating a transition of all the recordings to provide the viewer with a virtual reality experience. Practically all Earth can be experienced through Google Street View. And even when there's no road or street which a vehicle, a car, can be used, then we have just people walking, or we have camels, or whatever. But nowadays, practically all the Earth surface is accessible through Google Street View. So many artists have been using that device to provide alternative, critical approaches to this kind of globalization of our gaze. For instance, we can get back to historical moments and to check how it was looking like. For instance, this is an example I did for my teaching. This is a photograph, a snapshot by a photojournalist in Barcelona during the Spanish Civil War in 1936. And this is a moment in the center of Barcelona in which a demonstrator is beaten by some policemen. Well, okay, I tried to look exactly how the same place is appearing now. And then you can find now there's advertising, the thing, but practically the architectural structure is the same. So there are many ways to use artistically or documentary this device. For instance, Michael Wolf. Michael Wolf is doing reportage without taking a camera on the street. He's sitting in front of his computer and he's looking for strange events which happen when the Google streetcar passed through. If the cars are running 24 hours per day in all the different roads on the world, just by statistic reasons, from time to time, they will capture strange events. And Wolf so on. Well, another documentary approach, Mishka Henner. He's interested in open-air prostitution in different Mediterranean countries, in Spain, in Italy, in Greece, and so on. So the Google Street View are doing all this itinerary, and if there are some prostitutes waiting for the clients, they are depicted in the recording, in the picture. So he's doing a kind of critical approach to this social problem, social and human problem, but not necessarily to go there and take a straight photograph. Nicolas Baudouin, French artist, he's interested in the idea of paradise. Is it still existing? What's paradise? Paradise means unexplored territory, a place which has not been known by human experience yet. And how to prove that? Well, if the car of Google Street View is stopping here and no more information is going to be beyond, this means that this is the limit, this is the last frontier. Civilization stops here. And behind this frontier, it's paradise. It's, a wild territory, absolutely virginal, not touched by human eyes. So try to do that as an experience by yourself. Try to take any country, maybe an exotic one, and follow the ways of Google Street View as far as it stops and no more information is available. You will get paradise. The title of the series is called Mirage, Délice Expérimental, so experimental, exquisite. But we go from paradise to hell. Gaël Sintré, another French artist, realized that there are many frontiers, many walls, many separations, artificial constructions to avoid the free transition of people. Because of political reasons, because of economical concerns, there are walls, and usually they are forbidden to be photographed. But instead, the Google Street View cars are allowed to go away. And Google and Gaël Sintré is doing like videotapes of these transitions, these itineraries, in Palestine, in Mexico, in southern Spain, in northern Africa, and so on. Another interesting political work by Italian photographer Francesco Amorosino, who published this book, The Rome Guide for Terrorists. You know that there are many buildings like police stations or military, installations or whatever, which are prohibited to be photographed. But again, the car of Google Street View can go through and photograph. So Amorosino is getting all these areas in which conventional photographers are not allowed. But instead, these places have been depicted by Google Street View. Another kind of category working in Google Street View is the glitch, the accident. Emilio Bavarella, another Italian artist, is looking for the mistakes produced by the program in the transition of the different camera shots. Sometimes it's like kind of duplication, sometimes it's a chromatic distortion, whatever. But this is of course an accident, kind of anomaly, but beautiful from a plastic point of view. This idea of glitch is also undertaken by Andres Galeano, who is looking for this phantomatic presence of the guy having the camera in this Google Street View captures. Sometimes the integration, the transitions are not well done, and there's only the shadow remaining. There's only the hand or the arm, or whatever. These are, of course, mistakes, but beautiful mistakes. More mistakes. André Barrette, a Canadian one, the same. It's like surreal, surreal situations. John Ipe Matos, a Spanish one. Again, the mistakes in the transition of the virtual experience. I'm running fast. Or you can take a look to already photographed places by famous photographer. For instance, the Swiss photographer Domenico Scarano goes to the places that Gabriele Basilico took and made those classic shots. So this is the Basilico photograph, and this is the Scarano. This is the Basilico, and this is the Scarano. About 30 years later. This can be done in a kind of parodic way. For instance, Rubén Torres is looking for well-known films, like, for instance, Blow Up by Antonioni. And he's looking for the places in which the film was shot. And then, when he's having those places, he's doing a photomontage with elements taken from the movie. Blow Up, Easy Rider, Indiana Jones, Braveheart, Cinema Paradiso, Clockwork Orange, Paris, Texas. Another artist, Paolo Cirio. The cameras of Google Street View, because of problems with privacy, now use an algorithm which gets the face completely blurred, okay? So you cannot identify the people captured on the street. So they become somehow like ghosts. So Paolo Cirio is going to decide to select several photographs of people on the street, does life-size enlargement prints, and then sets that print on the same spot the picture was taken. So you have the Google Street View shot next to the same shot done by Paolo Cirio with that ghost set on the frame. So somehow is returning life, returning the ghost to reality. This is very funny. These are two American artists. The itinerary of the Google Street View is a top secret. Nobody should know about, otherwise you could establish a kind of predictable situation. And they are hackers able to find out what's the itinerary of the Google Street View car will take. And they organize popular receptions with music band, majorettes, confetti, and all kind of celebration. So they wait for the Google Street View and they follow the car along the streets of the village. And of course, when few months later you look for that specific spot, you will find all the performance being documented, not on purpose, but documented by the car of Google Street View. Just by chance, the German artist Adam Bartol was having coffee every morning as a breakfast in the same cafeteria in Düsseldorf, and one day he was having the coffee, and suddenly the car of Google Street View is passing just in front. So he left everything and started running after the car. And for a while, he was running after the car, but the car was, of course, much more speedy. So finally, he lost track of the car. But again, when months later, he was able to find that specific spot, he realized that he achieved his selfie, the selfie done by the cameras of Google Street View. And this idea of selfie is done more or less the same way by two different artists, Chadwick Gibson in the States and a Spanish one. The idea is that sometimes the Google Street View is providing also visits of museums or historical buildings or public buildings. And then the camera of Google Street View is, doing the itinerary of the whole interior. But from time to time, there are mirrors. And when there's a mirror, the camera is depicting itself. So this series by Chadwick Gibson is called Google Gazed, mirrors behind the curtain. And these are different situations in different museums in which accidentally the Google camera has been captured by its own. So the camera is doing its own selfie. And Mario Santamaria is doing more or less the same. It's funny how in this post-photographic time, many artists in very different areas of the world can share a very similar concern. For instance, this is Mario Santamaria and this is Chadwick. Look at how it's exactly using the same situation. And again, this is raising the idea of authorship and originality. I think that in post-photographic times, originality is not this sacred value than we had in modernity, and now we are more interested in intensity than originality. This is all Mario Santamaria. This is, for instance, the Danish Parliament or the White House. This is the White House with, I don't know who's the president, it's Jimmy Carter, I think, and this is, I don't know, I cannot recognize. Well, I'm changing concept. This is the work of Rabbi Murwe, who is a Syrian artist, and he did a very compelling work because he realized that during the demonstrations of the recent conflict in Syria, a lot of demonstrations were killed by the army, by soldiers or by police, and they were able to shot a photograph of the killer shooting them. So among the corpses after the protest, you could find the mobile phones which belonged to the dead people. And looking at the captured images, sometimes you were able to locate exactly the moment in which someone shot to the owner of the cell phone and kill that person. No? So it's the camera and the gun as opposed shots. It's a very terrible project, but it's explaining again how in an accidental way we can provide very strong documents. Well, and I will finish with a current project of mine in the process, I mean it's not finished, which is called prosopagnosia. Prosopagnosia is a strange word. It means pathology of memory. I'm suffering. I have difficulties to identify faces, to recognize faces. For instance, I can meet Matteo and realize that I know him, but I have difficulties to locate exactly his name or where I met him. And this is happening to many people. And when I explain that, there's always a lot of people say, oh, this is happening to me. If you look at Wikipedia, you will find a portrait of, what's the name of this actor, of, well, a famous Hollywood actor, blonde. Well, you see I'm having prosopagnosia. Well, and what's Brad Pitt, okay. Brad Pitt is having prosopagnosia as well, and he's the illustration for the entry in many internet information. Well, so I've been doing a project about how you could remember faces, and first of all, I went to historical archives, pre-digital archives. So, for instance, in several Spanish newspapers, I went to the archives and realized that the system was cutting and gluing a collection of portraits of public figures. This is, for instance, from the 30s and 40s. This means that, for instance, we have a portrait of Hitler, that if the newspaper should illustrate I don't know, a news regarding Hitler, Hitler is declaring the war to Poland, then we need a portrait of Hitler to be used as an illustration. But this is a very rigid system because we only have a portrait of Hitler for whatever happens regarding Hitler. Maybe Hitler is just attending an opera opening by Wagner and we have the same picture. Or Hitler is getting married to Maria Braun and we have the same picture. Because this is a very rigid system. This is the pre-digital way of preserving information, going probably by alphabetical order to this collection of images. Now, in the digital system, is completely different. Now, the public figures, politicians, singers, actors, and so on, they provide many pictures of themselves every day, according to different situations. So we are now in the opposite direction, in the opposite situation. We have too many pictures and we don't know which one to select in order to illustrate. For instance, in the social networks by politicians in Spain, we have this guy who is the president of the government. And it's very funny because the way he tries to present himself is being a young man, full of energy, always doing sport, very dynamic, and always running with other people. I mean, that's a kind of characteristic. The former first president was running as well, but he was always running alone. Nobody could stand him, probably, and because of that, he was always a solitary person running. And you don't have the idea that he's very energetic. It's like tired. It's something. So, another guy, Albert Rivera, who is one of the leaders of the new right, and he's the young one, the playboy, the handsome, with these sunglasses, sailing, traveling throughout the world, getting close to, actresses or people from the entertainment industry and so on. It's this kind of guy. Or a Catalan leader, now one of the political prisoners, Junqueras, who is someone presented close to the nature in his garden, in his botanical garden. I mean, it's a completely different. Well, let's jump to Italians. We have Salvini. Salvini is very nationalistic. He's always drinking Italian beer, eating Italian Nutella or whatever. I mean, everything is very Italian. But it's funny how these images will describe the figure. And again, there's some prosopagnosia problem. I mean, how we will remember them. Well, and because of that, I mean, the project of the prosopagnosia consists on the creation of new faces. Out of the historical archive, I'm working with another artist who is an expert in computer engineering, and we are using a new technology which is called GAN, which means Generative Antagonic Networks. I don't know if you are familiar with that. I'm not very skilled in computing, but it seems that the algorithm is taking elements from that archive of faces and building what we could call visual words. And these visual words of these graphic elements are combined in an aleatory way, producing different morphological shapes. This is the first step. And then the antagonic network is taking the shape and compares the original models. So there's a process of machine learning. The computer is learning how to produce. We first try with colors, with shapes, with lines. We are building more and more realistic faces out of the features of the portraits that compose the historical archive. And finally, believe or not, we get that. We get that. We get that, or that, or that, or that, or that. Sometimes with mistakes. Now you can still feel something wrong. But we are in a stage in which algorithm and artificial intelligence are taking the role that in previous time cameras and the eyes had in order to conform our visual culture. In any case, images are more and more present in our life. They are formatting our conscience, and that's very dangerous. And that's the reason we artists, we image makers, have the responsibility to be critical regarding this invasion of images. Let me finish to illustrate this idea with the video piece of Miguel Andrés, who is a young Spanish artist, which is called System. It's just three
Welcome to the
minutes.
system. Please wait. Please wait. Preparing to install. Please wait. Decompressing packages. Creating installation index. Please wait. Starting installation. Please wait. Installing education. Copying preschool content. Copying elementary school content. Copying middle school content. Copying high school content. Copying university content. Copying additional content. Installing social rules. Copying family package. Copying monogamy. Copying bright. Copying shyness. Copying fear of unknown. Copying shame. Copying selfish. Copying individualism. Copying competitiveness. Copying standard of beauty. Please wait. Please wait. Installing patriotism. Copying biased history. Copying border.map. Copying flag.bmp. Copying democracy.x. Copying government.dll. Copying institutions.cis. Copying politicians. Copying partitocracy. Copying homeland. Copying leader. Copying transnational companies.adm. Installing religion. Copying ethics. Copying moral. Copying prayers. Copying chants. Please wait. Please wait. Searching God.zip. Searching God.zip. Error. God.zip is not found. Replacing with false God.rar. Copying symbols. Copy family standard. Copying holy scriptures.log. Copying creationism. Please wait. Deleting evolutionism files. Please wait. Please wait. Installing work. Copying effort. Copying productivity. Copying individualism pro. Copying hope to triumph. Copying boss. Copying competitiveness. Copying satisfaction. Copying dignify. Copying trade union.x. Please wait. Please wait. Error. Trade union.x is damaged. Trade union.x was omitted from the installation. Copying slavery 3.1 beta. Installing a consumerism. Copying advertising. Extracting needed items. Copying brands packages. Copying brands packages. Copying brands packages. Planning obsolescence. Please wait. Installing system core. Copying monetary system. Trademark. Copying bank system. Trademark. Copying corporatocracy. Trademark. Copying capitalism. Trademark. Elite edition. Installing system firewall. Copying police pro. Copying army pro. Copying mercenaries pro. Installing system antivirus. Celix Vandalzol. Copying Valium. Copying neurozyme. Removing unnecessary files. Searching. Searching. Deleting altruism. Deleting solidarity. Deleting social awareness. Deleting emotional intelligence. Deleting self-knowledge. Please wait. Finishing installation. Please wait. Please wait. Restarting system.
We smile, but it's terrible because it's exactly that. Images are configuring our conscience individually and socially. So, in a moment in which image constitute the social space and the political space of human, I think that we cannot lose sovereignty over image. We should try to get it back. Thank you very much. You have any questions? Thank you very much. If there's any question or comment, and you are not tired enough, sorry for being so long.
Siamo arrivati un po' lunghi, però 2 domande. Se qualcuno si anima.
Hello, thank you for the presentation, it was amazing.
I can understand Italian if you prefer.
I'm talking English.
Okay.
Sorry. My question is, for your final project that you're working on, the possibility that you have a person who looks exactly the same as the image you have produced. What's going to happen?
Excuse me, I didn't listen. Maybe because of the echo, but...
Better now? Your final project,
Sí.
the possibility of using an image which looks like a real human being that survives right now. What are you going to do?
With this kind of project? Well, I'm preparing an artist book, which will be published by a French publisher, and probably an exhibition, but it's not finished, it's in progress. I mean, that I should still reflect on what to do with that. But I'm interested in the fact that now we can generate these non-existing faces without using the traditional photographic tools, and instead inventing faces which already have status, a semiotic status, which could be considered 100% photographic. And this means that we are completely in the switch moment, technologically and conceptually, regarding the images we produce. And if images are so strong regarding our reaction to the world and our way of thinking, of feeling, and so on, as we have been in that last video, I think that this is very dangerous. And as I said, I feel that image makers, artists, have a responsibility in this situation and should be very prudent and very critical regarding how images will be used. And in this responsibility, we include education. I mean that we all know how to produce images, but unfortunately, not everybody has the capacity to read them carefully. I mean that we just consume them without understanding the strength and the risk that they imply. That's, I don't want to be apocalyptic, but really images are modulating the new world in which we are living, and we should be very, very, very careful. That's my point.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you again. Bye-bye.